Good evening, everybody. Vernomatic and Metal Walt here with you. And on tonight's episode of the Friday Night Free-for-All video interview segment, we have a cool one. Earlier in the spring, Metal Walt had a chance to go down to Queens, New York and hang out with Rick Ventura, guitarist of the Riot band from the late 70s, early 80s. Metal Walt, you and Rick Ventura, I know we became friends with them during the Riot Act publicity. And earlier in the winter, we had Damian Kolodiy on promoting the Immortal Soul Riot series. How did you end up at his house? This is something.
So Damian came in from Germany for a visit to see his family. He lives about 15 minutes away from me in Jersey. And we were going to go out for dinner and beers. And I said, well, you were going to call Rick anyway, Damian, to get some footage from him. Let's go to Rick's house. And Rick was up for it. So we did. We took a trip. And Damian was able to get his hands on this rare 1994 demo of Guy Speranza and Mark Reale doing a writing session, which has now become a bonus episode for his documentary, the 5th segment in his series. And honestly, he just wanted to have Rick's take on it. Rick had never heard the music before and was interested in it. So instead of doing it on a Zoom, we said, fuck it, let's just go to his house.
That's awesome. So paint the picture. Did you call him and say, we're on our way over? You knock on the door and he opened the door like, in his bathrobe? What was that scenario?
Well, of course, we had to plan it out. So we picked a date and a time and drove out there. And, we get in, shook hands, and he offered us a couple drinks. We're just shooting the shit in his kitchen. Next thing you know, an hour goes by and he goes, let's go down to the basement, my musical lab. Now let's just hang down there. We weren't really sure what to expect. So now we're looking at all his pictures on his wall and all kinds of stuff. And we just grab a couple of stools and we start sitting and talking about stuff in general. And Damian, being the filmmaker, was cool enough to impromptu just grab his cell phone and start filming Rick and I talking. And John, it was cool because it really turned into like a 15, 20-minute conversation about, his early days in Riot, meeting Mark Reale, and just growing up in the 70s in New York City and seeing all these killer concerts. And then, the best part of it is he pulls out one of the guitars, the actual guitars he used to record some of those killer Riot songs.
Great. And that's exciting. And you talked about Damian pulling out his camera and videotaping all this. And we had tons of footage. I went through all the footage. I edited it down. So what we're going to do during this Friday Night Free-for-All, we're going to see some of this footage. And in between the clips, Walt's going to comment and give us the blow-by-blow of exactly what happened. So let's get to the first clip. Again, one more time, Walt, what's in this clip? Him just talking about concerts. What is it?
So he talks a little bit about the origins of Riot Act, when he got himself reacquainted with Louis. And then he just talks about he was doing some self-reflection back on how he got to know Mark Reale in the music scene. That was a lot of concerts back in the 70s on the streets in that area. And then it just went from there. So he talks these great concert memories, who he saw first, and some of the bands that he opened up for as an artist with Riot. It just was really cool general talk, like a couple guys having a couple beers in somebody's basement.
Which you were. Sounds like you're a fly on the wall. All right, let's get into this. Metal Walt and Rick Ventura on in the lab in Queens, New York.
What's up, everyone? It's Metal Walt. It's the first day of spring. So you know what I did? It is, Rick.
Oh, wow.
I sprung myself over to Queens, New York, and we rang Rick Ventura's doorbell. He wasn't expecting us, but I figured it would be a riot if we just sit down with Rick and have a conversation. What's up, Rick?
And I let him in the door.
He let me in the door.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to, Rick?
Oh, I've been up to no good.
You've been up to no good.
Yeah, I'm a bad boy.
So where are we here? What is this? I see. Is this
is
the
a dungeon.
Riot Act?
This is a dungeon.
Is this the Riot Act, like the lab where music is made?
This is where it started, where Riot Act started.
Yeah.
Yeah. The genesis of Riot Act. Lou and I would show up down here, and we jam out the old songs, and we look at each other and go, we have something. We never played together back in the day, and it was like the first time we got together and got to play the songs, and it was just like, it was magic, actually.
And that signature guitar of yours, how long have you been playing that guitar? Is that your favorite model?
Well, no, this is not that old. This is
okay.
This is not the guitar from Riot. In fact, cut the tape. No, I will get the guitar from that era. Guitar from Narita and Fire Down Under. Okay.
Here it comes, guys. This is the holy grail of it all.
Yeah, the mystery. It's actually.
There's a force field around the guitar.
Yeah,
this has
like
been
one of
in
those things.
how many countries, Rick? How many countries was this guitar played in?
Well, all over the U.S., England, Germany, France, Belgium, Japan. I mean, quite a number of countries. Yeah. It's an unusual. It's kind of a rare Les Paul for people that are into guitars, because it's a guitar that shouldn't be.
Now, in the formative years of Riot, because let's go back in due time, 79, 83, around that period was when you were in the band. You recorded on 4 albums, 4 killer albums. Talk about some of the songs on those albums, writing the material, and playing with Guy, playing with Mark, playing with Red. Take us back to that period.
Oh yeah, well, that period
40-something years ago.
Yeah, let me get the memory banks happening here. Well, it was just like when I first got a band. You know, the Narita album was happening, the writing was starting. I just joined the band, and, had some riffs, and when you're a new member of a band, it's always like, oh, I hope I can get some writing in there, get a song or two in there. And luckily, it happened. I got to play a lot of lead guitar on it, and it was an experience, because they were established for a bit, and I just came in. I was playing in a cover band, and so it was like, okay, now taking a step into like more of a professional level band. And
how did they find you, Rick? How did they
Well,
find you? Or how did you find them?
I was around the corner.
Literally?
I was a block away. I was always there. I was always at Mark's house. We were good buddies, and we would sit up late at night talking about guitars and music and the intricate workings of guitars, changing pickups and playing and defining our sound. So, there were many late nights, just digging into the music and technical aspects of the guitar. So that was always a fun thing to do with Mark. We related to that. So that was a very cool thing that I always remember.
Yeah. What about growing up playing guitar? What was that like? Like, what were your early years of, let's say, seeing a concert? What was the first concert you saw, Rick?
Wow, something?
In New York City
this
area.
This is really dating me. I actually saw John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band at Madison Square Garden. I saw Grand Funk Railroad. I must have been like 13 years old, and I would go see concerts in the city, And so those are my early concert days. I mean, this is like early 70s.
It's awesome.
Very early, so I've got to see some great bands.
And of those bands, as you ended up touring the world with Riot, what were some of your favorites? I know you toured with Rush, you toured with Rainbow. Like Ritchie Blackmore, he lives out here in Long Island. You ever run into Richie around here, or go down to his basement bar, have a couple pints with him?
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to, but I don't think that would happen. But I had my opportunity to meet Richie since I toured with Rainbow. Yeah. And Mark and I would just watch Richie in awe at, we'd be at the side of the stage and just watch it, because we were both big fans, and it was a big influence on both of us. And but Richie always had this mystique about him. It was he really, that image of him and just everything you read about him, it made me afraid to say anything to him. I had the opportunity to actually talk to him, and it didn't happen. We passed each other in the hallway at a venue, and it was like this. Yeah. His eyes looked at me, and my head went down, and I just walked right past him.
Hey, sometimes meeting your rock stars isn't always.
But he's a nice guy. From when my buddy interviewed him, he said he's the greatest guy. But you know, he has this aura about him, and I just unfortunately never got to speak with him. So Richie, I'd love to meet you one day.
We're in Rick Ventura's, let's call it man cave basement. Man, you can't see around here, but there's all kinds of great concert posters of Led Zeppelin, and I love the Paul Rogers Muddy Waters. I think that's T-Rex up there, and maybe Cream, or I can't see who it is, but
there's Led Zeppelin over there. There's Keith Richards over there.
Jimi Hendrix over there.
Yeah,
and Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, you have to have Marilyn Monroe, and you have to have Fender, and yeah.
So Rick, after you left Riot, or the Riot days ended, like, what happened? Because you came back a couple years ago in Riot Act. It's not that we didn't see you out there, but you know, did you continue to be a musician for the last like 25, 30 years playing with other bands?
No, I became a butcher.
A butcher?
No, I'm like...
You were very convincing with that.
I was... No, I didn't play music. I was always writing and playing in bands. It was just like under the radar kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, I was in quite a number of bands, and sort of taking the direction of Riot, but then going off in a lot of different areas. It was just fun to play without any pressure anymore, you know, because we were at the point where the band was on the verge of making it, you know, to the next level, you know. We were touring with Rush, and it was about the time for the band to break, but unfortunately it didn't. But I was still playing and recording music for quite a while, just nonstop, and it was a lot easier actually. You know, you still wanted, you know, to try to get the record deal. Oh look, our dog is joining us for the interview. He's in the band.
So Rick, we were having this debate offline, so now we're going to ask you the question again.
Oh no.
Who is the true first heavy metal band in your opinion?
Oh yeah, we were discussing this, and I would have to say Judas Priest. I always thought Judas Priest defined metal.
And why is that? Is it the twin guitar? Is it the singing?
It's a combination of everything. They just took what was heavy and just created a new genre. The twin guitar, the harmonies, the vocal approach. I mean, Rob Halford was just like, when Rob Halford came out, I remember a friend bringing over the Priest's first album, and I'm going, oh my God, who is this? It was just like a new sound, you know. And to me, when I think of, you know, heavy metal, I always think of Priest, and I always think of Maiden, but probably just Priest first. You know, there's something, everything culminated into a new genre, you know, with the guitars and vocal approach. It's a combination of those people that made that sound.
Well, what's great is both of those bands are still active in 2024.
I know, it's amazing, and it's still great.
Judas Priest just put out Invincible Shield, killer new album. Iron Maiden's always out there touring.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite bands? Do you follow new hard rock bands and metal bands?
You know, I wish I could say, you know, there's so many bands out there, and after a while, you know, when there's so many, a lot of bands sound the same to me. To tell you the truth, there's very few that stand out. And you know, I can't put my finger on one. I mean, I listen to a lot of different things.
Well, let me frame the question differently. You love your influences. You have your artists that you grew up on, that you learn to play guitar. Like, in your collection of music, like, what do you go back to all the time? Like, and I'll give you an example for me. Like, I'm a big fan of Deep Purple. Like, I can always take out a CD like Perpendicular. That was a Steve Morse era album. But that is a 10 out of 10 album, and 25 years later, it still feels fresh, and I'm excited to hear it. What are some of the bands that you take out?
Well, you know, speaking of Deep Purple, you know, I could put in rock or any of the early Purple albums. That's another band that defines, you know, it's, when you're talking about metal, I mean, In Rock is like a critical album. I mean, listen to every song on that album. I mean, that's like hardcore metal, you know. The intensity of the playing, of the band and Blackmore's playing on that is just mind-boggling. I could pull that out and just like be blown away as day one.
So being a New York guy, you probably saw a lot of shows back in the 70s at Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. You mentioned John Lennon. You mentioned Grand Funk Railroad. Did you ever see Led Zeppelin? Did you ever see Kiss at the Garden?
Oh, sure.
Take us back to some of those shows. What were some of your favorites at the Garden?
I've seen Led Zeppelin quite a number of times. Kiss, I never saw Kiss. I remember I did an interview and somebody asked me about Kiss, because Kiss, some of them came from Queens and they would play some clubs in Queens. And actually Peter Criss lived in Brooklyn, and some of my friends, we knew Peter Criss, and we hear stories about the beginning, the genesis of Kiss, and it was just fascinating, but I never got to see it.
Wow.
Believe it or not,
Wow.
So it's interesting. But we would go to, we saw UFO's first appearance, Van Halen's first show in New York.
Well, where was that at? Do you remember?
I think that was the Academy or the Palladium.
Okay.
We saw Van Halen, Montrose, and Journey, I think it was.
Wow, what a bill.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really early Journey. But yeah, right. I saw Rush, their first appearance in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got to see a lot of great bands.
And I know we've talked to you in the past at Metal Mayhem ROC. You told us a great story one time about Sandy having a sound check for Rush at Nassau Coliseum.
Oh yeah.
But what was touring like with Rush? Like, were you guys on the whole tour, just local tours? Did you get out and you actually watch the band? Did you ever sit down with Alex and just talk guitars to talk?
No, I
playing?
never got a chance to do that. I don't know why, but I would keep. It's weird. It's strange. I would be in awe of my idols. Certain people I felt comfortable talking with or lend themselves to be supposed, to hang out and talk, like Geezer and Bill Ward from Sabbath. I remember hanging out with them in their hotel room, and they were just so down to earth and just so nice to talk to. And Rush, Geddy used to watch us for do sound check. We always used to see Geddy out front watching us do sound check.
That's
I thought that was interesting.
What a piece of history for you, Rick.
Yeah.
History for Riot.
Yeah, very nice guys. I didn't get to hang out with them, because they were, they were the Moving Pictures tour. That was really the big thing for them, and so we were like, we just laid back a bit.
So a couple of years ago, you came out with your newest band, Riot Act. You did some touring. You toured the States with Raven. You played over in the UK. You played in France, as you mentioned before. So what's still to do in your musical career? Like, what else do you want to do? Or is it hard to say?
Well, I still want to play. I still want to record music and do that, which I'm doing. So there will be new material out.
As you can see, the guitar never comes out of your hands.
Yeah, it's here, and there's always riffs coming out and stuff now. So there'll be something coming out in the next few months or so.
Yeah.
Or by the end of the year, I shouldn't say it's a few months, but there'll be stuff coming out. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Because I'll be doing this until I drop.
Till you can't anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's awesome. As someone that's younger than Rick, I'm jealous that he saw some of those early Van Halen, Rush, UFO shows in New York City. Walt, you're a tri-state New Jersey, New York City guy. You could relate to, some of those venues. That's awesome. So this next little clip, what are we doing? You guys are going through some albums? Explain this next clip. What are we going to see?
So now I'm walking around Rick's basement, and he's just, we're looking at, and there was this picture of Paul Rogers and this blues album sign. I was like, hey, Rick, what is that? Oh, I got that from my cousin. So I just start going up to his vinyl and this old dusty bookshelf, and I start pulling stuff out. And I'm like, I just like close my eyes and said, all right, Rick, just going to pull some stuff out. And boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now Rick's getting all animated. Oh my God, this is the UFO picture disc and the Billy Gibbons and the blah, 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 blah. That was almost like doing a Storytellers off his vinyl collection.
That's I keep saying it, but that's awesome. So really, what were you thinking while you're doing this? How many beers do you have? Rick was feeling good that day. You're in this first clip, you were very comfortable with him. Is it really that cool with him?
It was. And as you'll see in this clip coming up, again, you see Rick getting excited again to see these picture discs and these albums. And then he starts getting into his love for the old blues players, which prompted him to eventually decide to plug in the guitar.
That's coming up in a minute, but well, let's take a peek of Metal Walt and Rick going through his vinyl collection.
So we're back in Rick Ventura's musical lab. This place is awesome. And Rick, he's got this vinyl collection behind me, and it looks weathered and scratched.
Oh, it's
and
weathered.
Then you look at something like this. Look at this. Look at this, guys.
Yeah, that is a weird find. I didn't even know I
I'm
had
gonna
that.
flip it to the backside now. So Rick, talk about your vinyl collection.
Yeah, this is a 45 in the days. Like this goes, you would think back to the 50s or 60s or something like this. But Elektra actually put this out, Rock City and Outlaw, on a 45, which is quite rare, you know? So I'll put this on eBay for like, you know,
What else you got?
$1,500.
Did you steal that from Ventura Highway, like out in LA? Did you get up on the sign?
Somebody actually
and like
got
knock that
from
down?
me. Yeah, somebody actually.
They
got
actually
that from me.
knocked the light sign down?
Oh yeah. They pulled over.
Yeah.
And they got a welder's torch and.
So if you were to pull something out of this collection, what are you pulling out? What
I
are you
don't
putting on
know.
your
Oh my
turntable?
God! Like I said, this is just.
Pick something
I
random.
just found. Oh my God! Random. Oh my God! This is wild. This because I haven't gone through this in years, and there's so many unusual things in here. That. Oh my God! Look at this! Look at this! Michael Schenker. That's I know.
That's a
Schenker,
picture disc.
Schenker fans will dig this, right? This is pretty interesting. Built to Destroy. Rock my nights away. I'm gonna make you mine. Dogs of War. Yeah, that's.
Hold that up so we can see that.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to pull something out of this randomly. Ready? It's
Oh,
going to be
God,
a game.
that can
And
be-
Rick's going to close his eyes, and then I'm going to make him comment.
It can be
Here we
frightening because I have no idea what this could be. Oh my God! Look at this. Joe Jackson,
Joe
night
Jackson.
and day. Wow.
Is that the one that says with the piano?
Great bass player on this,
Stepping
too.
out. Is that that one?
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, Joe Jackson.
Very cool.
And then this one, but this one's been, it's been like this one. Look at this.
Well,
one.
that's a Billy Gibbons collection. It's not really an album. It's just like all kinds of his guitars.
Yeah.
It's a whole history of all the guitars he had built for him. It's really cool.
What's he mean to you as a player,
Oh my God,
Rick? What's
he's
Billy
just,
Gibson to you?
you know, he's like the epitome of. He's a blues historian, and his tone is, I mean, the most distinctive guitar tone. Pearly Gates is 59 Les Paul. That is the epitome of the Les Paul tone. He just has it. And those early ZZ Top albums, I mean, I'm sure guitar freaks know, you know, he just had that magic tone.
So,
Of what Les
of
Paul-
all the
of old
blues guitars, if you go back to the olden days,
okay.
who are your favorites?
Days of old. Well, I grew up on Eric Clapton in the days of John Mayall and Cream, and those were the guys. He really was one of the guys that made me pick up the guitar, you know. But then if you read interviews with him, the guys that influenced him were Freddie King, Albert King, B.B. King, and Buddy Guy. So I went back and listened to those guys. I'm going, oh my God, that's where Clapton got his licks, but he turned him into his own licks, you know. So that was always fascinating to me to hear, you know, where the guy that influenced me to hear the guys that influenced him. So that always blew me away. But those, and then I went back and I listened to Freddie and Buddy Guy and Albert King, and who influenced Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know. So that the history of those players was always fascinating to me, on how each generation, you know, learned from their style and made it their own. You know, the tone. Yeah, those are the guys that really turned me on to guitar. And Jimi Hendrix, you know.
More history lessons from Rick Ventura coming up soon to a theater near you.
Cool.
You know, that's really cool that he had that little 45 of Riot, you know, back in the day. That's a blast from the past. All right, this next little clip is the final clip we have tonight. It's when Rick pulls out the guitar and starts playing. Walt, how'd you get him to actually plug in and start playing? This is awesome. Share this story.
Well, I was baiting him early on, and I was like, Rick, I'm not coming to your house unless you plug it in. And he was originally hesitant. No, Walt, I'm sorry. I haven't played since the last Riot Act show a year and a half ago. I'm going to be rusty. But after a couple beers in his kitchen and a few martinis, and he was in the spirit, I could tell he was into talking music and the vinyl stuff and the back history. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just grabs that Les Paul and he plugs it in and he starts noodling. But the best part of it is he doesn't tell us what he's doing, and he just starts ripping on 15, 20-second segments of all the classic Riot songs that he recorded. It was fucking awesome. I'm not going to lie. There's mistakes in there. They're not perfect, but that's the best part. And then afterwards, he's like, as every guitar player does, they doesn't want to stop playing guitar. So I say to him, hey, Rick, you ever play the blues? And next thing you know, it's 5 minutes of him just jamming out the blues.
Oh, let's take a let's take a listen to this. Rick doing old Riot riffs and playing the blues. Metal Walt and Rick Ventura down in Queens.
Distortion sounds cool. I haven't heard of like a live, you know, like a live amp like that.
It's weird. Like I play with less distortion than anybody, than most metal players. In fact, I remember I was at a rehearsal studio once, and the guitar player from Wendy O. Williams' band, he was like, he goes, oh, let me try your guitar, and he played it 3 and goes, how the fuck do you play this? Like he couldn't play it. You know, it's like, and I'm going, I don't know. It was like, because it wasn't, it was like so weird.
Ready? So here we go. Let me go. So we're here with Rick, and I told Rick, there's no way we're leaving his lab without him plugging in this beautiful guitar into an amp, playing us some of those riffs that we love. So here we go, Rick. Let's hear it, man.
Altar of the King.
Oh my God, my dog.
Through the basement window.
All right, so you have to edit that out because
It's cool hearing them like raw. Yeah.
a little out of tune here. People listen to go, he's fucking out of tune. He's fucking out of tune. It's like you're at the mercy of like.
It does sound good, like just raw and in your face and just the guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, that sounded cool. That was great. You got more. Keep playing it, man. That was killer.
I haven't played this guitar in a while, so I'm up to.
Yeah, that's the Riot guitar. Yeah. The OG.
Exactly.
It's appropriate.
What else is on that album?
That you haven't played Fire Down Under. Anything from the Rat albums that like?
Oh wow, shit! Wow.
Was it Hard Lovin' Man?
I haven't played those. Wow, I haven't played that stuff in years.
Yeah.
Red stuff. Wow, because I haven't played this in years, so I don't want to come off like a little lame on this because I haven't done this in like 40 years.
So how about something else outside the Riot catalog? What are your
like
favorite
what?
things to jam on?
How many do I get up there? love
Zeppelin.
Spare times, man.
You said one of your
Hold
greats
off on
was
that. Maybe hold
Grand
off on
Funk. What about some Grand Funk?
Oh, I don't even remember any
No.
Grand Funk. No, yeah, it's just like, now you put me on the spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say now you're putting him on the spot.
Play some Rush.
So, yeah, I had 2 beers and 3 martinis, and I'm really, and it's like, oh, this fucking guy can't even.
Do you ever
play.
jam out the blues, Rick? Just blues out? It's awesome, man. Sounds great. It's great, man.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It's fun.
Thank you.
Well, Rick's showing his true inspiration, the blues. He's a little older, and that's some good stuff. Hey, Walt, you guys ever get to listening to that audio footage that originally Damon was gonna play to Rick?
Yeah, we did. It felt like it was never going to happen. And believe it or not, we didn't turn that on till 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. I was tired. I had a couple drinks, but we did. And Damian did a great job. And you can see Rick's emotion coming out. He was focused. He was getting emotional. He was really reflecting on how great of a relationship that those guys had with each other, Guy and Mark, and that Rick was just happy that he was a part of it. And Damian was able to capture some of his responses and feelings around hearing those tapes for the first time. So again, I would, welcome the listeners to go check out that bonus episode of Damian's series. It's a good one. So it wrapped up the night. After that, it was all bro hugs and goodbyes. We didn't get into car till about 12:30. I had to go to work the next day, but man, it was well worth it. And I hope to go back to Rick's house again someday.
Well, good for you, man. You're always looking for something different to do, and props to you for making that happen. All right, there you have Metal Walt and Rick Ventura. Just keep in mind later in the summer as things progress, we have Southern Cal with Giles Laverly and Warlords coming up. Let's see what else we have. We got a special Queensryche Road to Madness episode with the author Brian Heaton that did this brand new book coming out. I have the band Conquest from St. Louis. They have their new one, and whatever else comes across our desk that we put together for you. For my co-host Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and this has been another edition of Friday Night Free For All on Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.